on oregano oil, and that you have to be careful not to use it regularly because it is almost like an antibiotic, and you don't want to just kind of sustained antibiotic dosing in your body. Can you weigh in on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is exactly a moment that we go back to like tonifying your immune system. We want to start off with something that's going to build the foundation first, and then build in practices in our lives, of course, that are going to help us manage stress or manage immunity, digestion, all of that, so that you don't necessarily have to reach for something that is as strong as oregano oil is, for example. That's one that it's, it's because of its power, it should be revered and respected. There's a lot that you can do before you get to that level.
Is it like pulling the emergency hatch kind of thing to take? Like when you're really like, oh man, I cannot even get up. Like maybe then?
Exactly. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
All right. I hear you. Thank God too, because it tastes awful. Just
some of my favorite herbs taste awful according to other people. So.
I know, but oregano oil, I mean, I can drink apple cider vinegar till the cows come home, but man, oregano oil. So can we dive a little bit deeper into the microbiome? Because I think that this becomes a very overlooked area, and our gut health is just so incredibly critical to so much. And in my book, I wrote about different flavors and how those different flavors contribute to health, and the sour flavor, sour foods that are often associated with probiotic rich foods are such an important thing to introduce to your diet, whether it be pickled vegetables, kimchi, sauerkraut. You can do, kefir, yogurt. You can do, the whole range of probiotic rich drinks that are out there now. In terms of isolating like herbal remedies, when people go to buy these things on the shelf, what should they look for? And do you have any recommendations on specific products that you find that are effective for boosting your microbiome IQ? Have you ever wondered, is rinsing my produce with the water that comes out of the sink that I don't even drink enough to really clean it? Well, then you're one of the smartest people I know, because you're absolutely right. It's not enough. That's why we created the only all-natural and patented line of food wash and wipes, and it's called Eat Cleaner. It's tasteless, odorless, and lab tested, and it removes up to 99.9% of the residue that water can't, including pesticides, wax, soil, and junk that can carry bacteria that can really make you sick. Plus, we formulated it to help extend the shelf life of your fresh produce too, and that'll save you money. When your berries are lasting up to 10-12 days, you know that's a good thing. It helps your produce last up to 5 times longer using a natural blend of fruit acids and antioxidants. So there's no chemicals. It's just clean eating fun. And this can help save your family an average of over $500 per year. Make it easy on yourself, reduce waste, and get that fruit and veggies into your body, where it's going to do you a lot of good and not in the trash. Check us out, eatcleaner.com, or head to our Amazon store at amazon.com/eatcleaner.
Absolutely. Well, as you say, yes, building the microbiome is step one, baseline for good digestion, and it allows us to properly assimilate food. And assimilating, of course, is making sure you're getting the nutrients right into your system and that they're not just passing through your system.
Can I just stop you for a second? Because I want everybody to hear this one more time. This is such a critical point, because the synthesis of these nutrients, your body's ability to actually absorb them, is so critical. I mean, I want to underscore critical here. Can you just repeat what you just said?
Let's see, how did I phrase that? But basically, yes, you want your body to be at a state where it can assimilate the nutrients from the food that you're intaking so that it just doesn't pass through.
Yes.
And there are certain ways, of course, we can do this. One is, activating our liver, the liver bile and our digestive enzymes. They're really there to orchestrate this entire action of processing the food. So there are definitely herbs that help to do this, whether it's stimulating those digestive juices. Sour, as you mentioned, is absolutely one of those flavors. Bitter is one of those flavors that'll help us do that. So an example, Schizandra berry, that's one of those, it's called the 5-flavor herb, and it has that bitter and that sour, that tangy, a little bit of sweetness in there too. And then, going back to the initial question of setting up that microbiome for yourself, there are prebiotic herbs, which of course it's the food for the microbiota to be living in. So you want to build that rich environment for them to want to live in. Great example would be burdock root. So forget about, what's on the shelf stable areas of the store. You can also go straight to the produce section. And if your health food, natural food store has burdock root, that is great source of prebiotic fiber called inulin.
Yeah. And what you're saying about prebiotics, I do a trend report every year. And a couple of years ago, I talked about the importance of prebiotics because, getting a lot of probiotics into your system is not good if your system's not fertilized, if you kind of think about a garden. So you want to create an environment that the probiotics actually take hold and do their work. I love that you can also garlic and onions. I mean, garlic and onions are a great way to feed that probiotic rich environment, if you will, too. It's interesting. I just started taking a supplement that has burdock root in it, and I'm curious to see how that kind of works with me. So I'm glad you brought that up too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so if you can go to the store, you can get burdock, you can eat it directly. You can boil it up and turn that into a tea as well. But for someone who's looking for something a little bit more ready-made and on the go and maybe more familiar that might be in a package, there's one tea that we have, which I have been loving, and it's the dandelion chai probiotic tea. So not only are you getting the benefits of dandelion, which also is great for the digestive system, but we've added that extra layer of probiotics. And what we've done there is, oftentimes you'll see that your probiotics should be refrigerated. There's a whole refrigerated section in some stores dedicated. But there are also probiotics that are available in a culinary grade, specifically to withstand the heat of something like adding boiling water to it. Yeah. So that's just a nice, quick way.
I love dandelion. I had some toasted dandelion tea that it's just so yummy, and it's so soothing and nourishing. I think that there's so much that we can find in the form of a tea, which I know you're an expert in, but teas just make it very easy for us to be able to take in these herbs. Can you weigh in a little bit on why you would do a tea versus maybe swallowing a supplement?
Absolutely. And this is another area where we're going to bring back that word assimilation. So when we take a supplement, or when we even eat a food directly, of course you will likely get benefits that way, especially if your digestive system is running nice and smoothly. But what's happening when you actually put a plant, for example, an herb, into hot water is that there's an extraction process that hot water is doing for you. So it's right? Pre-digesting it almost before it gets into your body.
The steeping of it. Yeah. So, and that's why, a lot of teas that are more, I'll say, a blend of herbs or maybe natural that I've used, they require you to steep them for a little bit longer, right? To just kind of pull that out, whether it be, a nice green tea or something that has a blend. Is there anything, could you oversteep tea? I mean, is there that possibility, or does that not really exist?
It actually does exist. So it's all a science. It's pretty, we can nerd out about that. I can nerd out about this forever. But yes, I would definitely recommend, if anyone is reaching for a tea, especially if it's a tea box itself, is to check out the steeping directions on the back. Oftentimes you'll see, especially with our products, we do indicate the amount of time that's recommended for that particular tea. Plants that are soft in nature, like let's say a leaf or a flower, like a chamomile flower, typically will need less steeping time, less time to pull out the water-soluble constituents that we're looking for. Whereas something that's a little bit harder and durable in its form, like a root, for example, like a marshmallow root, which we love to help coat our throats, that is something that would take a little bit more time to steep. And in some cases, the longer you steep it, the more you can extract from it. And then to put into terms also, flavor is so important to people as well. You'll see green tea, for example. Have you ever steeped your green tea for too long?
It can get pretty bitter.
Yes. Yep. So what's happening is you're changing the chemical makeup there is you're extracting so much tannin that it becomes bitter and drier on your tongue. Yeah.
Is it more of a culinary, or not culinary, but sensory concern versus like I'm doing something chemically that's not good for my body, or is it a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both. We call herbalism, it's a blend of science and art. It really is, especially when you get into formulation. You want to make sure you have that whole package of the right amount of constituents that are being pulled out at the right time, paired with the flavor profile. It's beautiful chemical magic. Yeah.
I like that. Do you have a guide, or is there a place that we could get maybe more information for our listeners if they're looking for, say, certain things to, for certain conditions or certain symptoms? Is there a guide that you could refer people to?
Gosh, well, there are so many fantastic herbal experts in the field right now. I would say that if anyone wanted to reach for a book by David Hoffman, he's actually one of our staff herbalists and someone that I learned from years and years and years ago. So David Hoffman has some wonderful accessible books out there. Guido Massé also is fantastic herbalist. And of course, Rosemary Gladstar. I mean, she's what some people would call the godmother of quote unquote modern herbalism here in the States. It was back to the roots movement about herbalism, back to the roots. How do we grow our own food? How do we make our own medicines? And she's a Sonoma County native, which is where Traditional Medicinals is based. And she's actually the original co-founder of Traditional Medicinals as well. Oh, and cool. A lot of her original formulas are still in our lineup today. That's how effective and time tested they are. And she just also has a beautiful way of breaking down herbal medicine and herbalism so that anyone can use it. That was one of her first and foremost objectives, is getting herbal knowledge in the hands of people. Whether you buy a product and you want to learn more about why it's a good product and how to read a label, or whether it's, growing your own, making your own, whether it's a tincture form or a tea form. Those authors were fantastic.
With a name like Rosemary Gladstar, she was destined to be an herbalist. I mean, come on. That's like a gift, right? That's pretty much like, okay, you have to go down this path. Yeah, and she is an icon in the industry. Okay, so I have a question for you. What is your go-to flavor of tea that you... Or do you have a few that you like to go to depending on what the situation is or what time of year it is?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I definitely reach for teas for specific reasons now. There's always a rhyme or reason behind what I'm pulling for. So, for example, this morning I woke up and I really wanted a cup of our turmeric with meadow sweet tea. And that's because yesterday I went on a pretty extensive